Just when you thought that song was out of your head for good, here come P-Valley.
Do it like it's my B-Day, that's right. Do it like it's my B-Day, baby. Do it like it's my...
Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the tribe, and if you are returning to Fiercely V, welcome back. So happy to have you. Today we are here for another review and recap of P-Valley season 2, and today we are going to be talking about season 5, which was so good, y'all. It was so good. I know I be saying that about every episode, but no, they really they did it with this episode. And we're going to get into why I think that is. But first of all, just wanted to say welcome. Definitely, while you're here, if you are enjoying the content here at Fiercely V, make sure that you give a thumbs up to this video. And also, if you are loving the vibe over here at Fiercely V, consider subscribing to the tribe. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the review recap of P-Valley Season 2, Episode 5, which is titled White Nights. So this episode was actually really unique in that it utilized a time jump from the past and back to the present as the structure of the episode, and it ended up, they did it so well, the way they structured it and the way that they had Uncle Clifford basically narrating it throughout in like a fairy tale type of vibe, like chef's kiss. It was so good. They executed it perfectly, and this was like a different kind of vibe from P-Valley, which is a very, like, you can literally see the difference in like the color of the episode. P-Valley is such a like darker, grittier show because of the, you know, the environment and the subject matter. But when they were switching it to the past, you could see that it was like brightened up. It was like, you know, just like a regular show, and you could just seeing that contrast as it went from past to present. It was well done, okay? It was just very well done. Uncle Clifford narrating it like a fairy tale, so good. Oh, it was so good. So anyway, I just had to get that out on the front end, but let's go ahead and get into episode 5, which again is titled White Nights. So we start off with some narration from Uncle Clifford, basically describing a land far away from P-Valley, and we find out very quickly that that far away land is Atlanta, Georgia, okay? And basically there's an event going on there called the Legends Ball, and it's bringing all of these, you know, well-known dancers together. They mentioned Jessica Dime, Miami Tip, both whom are part of the Love and Hip Hop franchise, and then what Uncle Clifford describes as the fairy godmother, Joseline Hernandez. Not me trying to roll my R's. So basically, we see backstage at this event, we see Miami getting ready, and Rome is there with her. He's on the phone talking to somebody. He ends up telling her that they're going to be getting her started with a line of lace wigs, and she's really excited about that. And so we basically see that she's going to be performing at this event. She's going to be like, you know, one of the main like featured people performing at this event, as she is the newest kind of like up and coming like well-known dancer. And so we see Rome and Keyshawn backstage. They're talking, she's getting dressed, and you know, like I said, he tells her about the wig line that she's going to have, and she gets super excited about that. And then he's like, go ahead and choose one of these wigs to wear tonight. And he's pointing out all these wigs, like a red one, a blue one, a short blonde one. And as Keyshawn is looking at them all, she's just kind of like, I don't know, none of these really go with me, none of them really go to my skin tone, is what she actually said. Rome is pointing out a specific platinum blonde one, and she's like, I don't know if that really goes with my skin tone. And Rome is like, that sexy chocolate go with everything. And he kind of, talks her into putting on the platinum blonde wig. She ends up putting on this platinum blonde wig, and we're hearing this narration from Uncle Clifford about how Keyshawn, never felt like as a, just a chocolate girl, that she was just deserving or could be this beautiful or this, that, and the third. And we get this conversation with she and Rome, where Rome is like, yeah, we gonna get you to perform tonight, and then after tonight we start the second leg, of the tour, the second 2 weeks of the tour. And Keyshawn is like, wait a minute, 2 weeks? I thought we was only going for another week. Like, I gotta get home. I've been away from my kids for all this time. I gotta get back home to my kid. And this is where Rome is like, no, what you need to do is get out here and do this performance and make this money. That's what you need to do. I'm trying to get you this money so you don't have to go back home. And I was like, there it is. I was like, there it is right there. At that moment, I already knew Rome was going to be a problem. In my other videos, I already made it very clear that I have never trusted Rome. There was always something off about him, always something grimy. But at this part, it was very clear that you're not even on the same page as her. You want something completely different than what she wants. And she's sitting here telling you that she wants to go home to her kids. However we feel about that, it's her kids are there. So it's not like she wants to just go home to her abusive man. Like, her children are there. So I get it. But it's like, this woman is telling you she wants to go back home to her kids, and you're like, nah. Like, to me, like, off top, that was a problem, because it's like, you off top, you not hearing her, and she's telling you she wants one thing, and you telling her, no, what you gonna do is this other thing. And I was like, I don't like it. I don't like it. So off top, that made me very uncomfortable. But in the background of this conversation, we hear Uncle Clifford's narration, basically like, people can't help getting caught up in Keyshawn and wanting to save her, but you can't save somebody until they're ready to be saved. And I think that's part of this overarching storyline with Keyshawn. Like, as the viewers, we see her in this abusive situation. We see her, and we can sit and watch the show and say, girl, you should have did this, you should have did that, you could have got out here, right here, you could have got out right there. But ultimately, it's in real life, when women be in this situation for real, they're not leaving until they decide to leave. And that's exactly what the narration from Uncle Clifford was saying. Like, you can want to save her all day long, but people are not gonna leave until they decide they are ready to leave, whenever that is. And it's just, all we got to do is wait for it to happen, as we can't save them. So we go into the club where this Legends Ball is happening, and we see Lil Murda and Big Teak sitting down in a section. They're just chilling or whatever. Lil Murda is upset because he's like, I don't know why they wouldn't have been letting me perform Mississippi Pride up in here tonight. And basically Rome comes to sit down, and he's like, look, this night ain't about you. This ain't murder night. This is, this is Miss Mississippi night. So that's why you're not performing, because tonight ain't about you. Plus, I ain't your manager. So it's not me getting this show for Mississippi don't have nothing to do with you, because I don't manage you. So just more feeding into this kind of back and forth from last episode, where we could just kind of see that, like, clearly Rome is outshining Wody as a manager. Rome is getting a lot more stuff for Mississippi, whereas Wody is not really doing that much for Lil Murda in comparison. And so just another layer of that kind of situation that's brewing. I'm sure that's gonna, eventually turn into some sort of disdain. Anyway, as they're sitting here having this conversation, Big Teak and Lil Murda start kind of bickering, going back and forth. And Rome is like, dang, these two still arguing? And Big Teak and Lil Murda in unison are like, ain't nobody arguing. And it's just so funny, because it's like, they're working so hard to like not show that they like have this like affection for each other and are in this like kind of relationship, but it's so obvious. So Joseline comes up and she's basically explaining, this is the Legends Ball, we're here to give these dancers their flowers. And she goes up there, child, she does her little dance to Do It Like It's My B-Day, baby. And I'm like, girl, I forgot that song even existed, but it was hilarious. One thing I noticed about Joseline is that she ain't the type of stripper that's like on the pole, like doing tricks and stuff. That girl was doing a little 1-2 step and a little body roll and a little, that's all she gave. And I was like, so you're one of those strippers that don't know how to get on the pole and don't know how to do no pole tricks. Gotcha. But anyway, she goes up there, she does her little 1-2 step and a few little body rolls, and then she ends up introducing Keyshawn. Keyshawn comes out there, you know, she does her little thing, twirling and whirling around. It's very cute. And we basically hear Uncle Clifford's narration in the background saying something along the lines of, you know, in order to really understand Keyshawn's story, you have to understand where she came from. And then that's where we lead into our very first flashback. So the setting is high school. We are at a cheerleading tryout and we see Keyshawn. She's standing on somebody's shoulders trying to do some sort of jump off or something, and she done fell and hit the ground. Listen, I was a cheerleader in high school and all we did was some cute little dance routines, toe touches, and herkies, okay? We was not doing no full, you know, competition style tricks and doing flips and standing on people's shoulders. We were not doing that, okay? But looks like that's what they're doing for their cheerleading tryouts. Clearly Keyshawn is not, you know, she ain't the best of the best. She ends up falling on her face, and basically we see a young man kind of reaching to help her up, and it is Derek, who looks like was also on the cheerleading squad. And so we see Gidget is like, I guess maybe she's like the captain of the cheerleading squad, maybe, because she was kind of like telling the girls what to do next in the tryout or whatever. And so basically we see Keyshawn, like I said, she tried to do this little trick. She ended up falling. Derek ends up helping her up. And, you know, you could see they have a little moment between the two of them. And then after Derek helps her up, she goes and kind of stands with the other girls. And then her stepsister comes up and she does a trick and she does really well and everybody's cheering for her. And you know, you can kind of see the dynamic between Keyshawn and her stepsister, who is very, you know, light-skinned, long hair, traditionally attractive. You can kind of see the, you know, how they're playing the relationship between the two of them. And so after this whole little tryout situation happens, Keyshawn is sitting on a bench and can see the football team practicing, and 2 or 3 football players end up coming over to her. They're all black dudes, all similar skin color as her, okay? I need to put that out here. And, you know, one of them is just like, you know, what's your name? Because Keyshawn is new at the school or whatever. She's not really giving them the attention that they're seeking. And so they're like, ain't nobody trying to talk to you anyway. That's why you out here. You need to get out the sun. You looking like a burnt biscuit. And, you know, it's just, it is crazy to me how, like, in the black community, for so many people, and especially for a lot of us when we were younger, it's like, these dudes are exactly the same color as her or darker. It's like, the fact that whole like being a burnt biscuit and this and that, it's like, how you the same color as me calling me a burnt biscuit? Like, it's just so crazy. But that is really how it was when we was growing up, like before people really got hip to what colorism truly was and who it affects. But child, that I was like, oof, they kind of hit a little close to home, because listen, I'm a little chocolate girl and I remember the kind of insults that I would get mainly from little black boys. It wasn't light-skinned girls insulting me about my skin tone. It wasn't non-black people. It was always black boys, always. And they were always my skin tone or darker. That's what was crazy. So anyway, that little scene, girl, triggered. And so when they're having this scene, Derek ends up coming over and he's like, hey, y'all leave her alone or whatever. And then the football players just start going in on him and they start talking bad about him. And then, he goes to turn around and walk away from them. And one of the football players just spits on him randomly. And I was like, child, listen, people in my high school wasn't taking it that far. Like, that was just a lot. But for some reason, one of the little black football players spits on him. And then Derek just turned around and start beating everybody down. And I mean, it's like 3-4 different football players like coming at him. And he beating everybody down. And finally, they broke up the fight or whatever. And so I'm like, there's the aggression, red flag. Red flag number 1, although if you, at the point that you spit on somebody for no reason, whatever happens. So then we're in the hallway of the school. All the students that tried out for the cheerleading squad are trying to see who made it and who didn't. And so, of course, Keyshawn's light-skinned sister made the cheerleading squad. Not only is she, like, obviously the, conventionally attractive popular girl, but she actually was good. Like, Keyshawn fell on her face, so she actually did, nail the trick that she tried to do or whatever. So she made the squad, Keyshawn did not. And so, they're in the hallway just basically seeing who made the squad. Derek, is already on the squad, and he basically sees, Keyshawn in the hallway, and Keyshawn sees the football players that he had gotten into a fight with. They're leaving, and she's like, what happened to them? Are they in trouble? And Derek is basically like, yeah, they got suspended, so they're not going to be able to come to the homecoming dance that's coming up. And Keyshawn is like, what? They got suspended and you didn't? Didn't you start it? And Derek was basically like, no, I finished it. And, plus the school's not going to have their star cheerleader not be able to perform in the homecoming game or whatever. And, listen, it was giving very much white privilege. Of course, they're going to suspend the black football players, but not suspend Derek, who beat the mess out of everybody unnecessarily. Now, I will say the football players did start it by spitting on him. That was disgusting. But then Derek took it very far by just like continuing to pound on everybody to a level of excess. Like, he went overboard with it. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, somebody spit on you, whatever happens, happens. But basically, Derek is just like, what they were saying about you earlier is not true. You're beautiful or whatever. And Keyshawn is just a cheesing. And then we hear the narration from Uncle Clifford, basically just saying how, Keyshawn had never, she had never felt beautiful. She never felt like she was deserving of this kind of attention from somebody. And so, that's pretty much why she's like eating it up, because she just, as a little, darker skinned girl, this is just nothing that she ever thought she was deserving of. So we're at Keyshawn's house, and this is where we kind of see the family dynamic. Basically, she has a light-skinned stepmother who has 2 daughters, and she has just came to live with them because her dad had just married this woman. And so we kind of see the dynamic between them. The 2 stepsisters is basically, there's the light skin, long hair, pretty stepsister, the one that was trying out to be a cheerleader. And then there's another sister who, she is brown skin, probably a little bit lighter than Keyshawn, but she also has really, really long hair. And then there's Keyshawn, just a regular black girl. I hate to even use this kind of terminology, but this is what is kind of like articulated in the show. This is what the show is trying to let you know. They're all regular black girls, if you ask me, but the show is basically like ranking them in like this hierarchy. And so basically we see how the stepmom is just kind of like, she's talking about the girls being in a pageant, and she basically has Keyshawn doing their hair, and we hear Uncle Clifford's narration basically saying how, the stepmother basically felt like it was Keyshawn's job to like cater to them or be in service of, her 2 beautiful sisters. It's given very much Cinderella and the evil stepsisters, and that's literally the exact like setup for what it was giving, which goes along with the entire like, you know, fairy godmother, Joseline Hernandez as a fairy godmother, and Uncle Clifford's narration, you know, being this fairy tale thing. The title of the episode is White Knight. So we get in this whole like, you know, little hood Cinderella situation going on with Keyshawn's family setup. Her stepmom is talking to them, and she's doing one of the stepsisters' hair, the darker skinned stepsister with the really long hair. She's doing her hair with the flat iron, and as the stepmom is talking, she says something about, you know, man, it's so hard raising 2 girls, and Keyshawn is like, you mean 3 girls? Like, girl, I'm standing right here, you know. And the stepmom is like, you know, oh yeah, you know, I just, you know, it just, I forget sometimes, you know. And I'm just like, girl, how you forget you got a whole other stepchild? Like, anyway, as this conversation is going on, Keyshawn realizes that she has just been holding the flat iron on the sister's hair, and she pulls the flat iron away, and the girl's whole ponytail comes off. That hurt my heart. It hurt my heart. She took the girl's whole ponytail off. But the stepmom's reaction to this is just like, oh my God, look what you did. Like, you took away the only thing that makes her beautiful. Her hair is the only thing that makes her beautiful. And she's basically alluding to the fact that, like, you know, the light-skinned sister, she's light-skinned and she has long hair. But the dark-skinned sister, she's like, you know, she don't have the right skin color. She says something about her skin color. If I can screenshot what she said, I'll put it on the screen. But she says something about her skin color, like, you know, she don't got the right skin color, but her hair is all she has. Her long hair is the only thing that makes her beautiful. And you can see when she said that, how the stepsister, like, the look on her face was just like, you know, dang, like, really, like, so my hair is the only thing that is beautiful about me. And the thing about this scene is, watching it in this show, the way it was, you know, the way the lines were delivered in the show was obviously extreme. But I just want y'all to understand that so many Black women have this mindset and perpetuate it with their daughters. And y'all may not be as extreme as a stepmom in this show, but y'all, the same level of importance that y'all be putting on these little girls' hair and how long it is and how whatever it is, y'all are this woman. Like, I just want y'all to see yourselves in this stepmother and the way she reacted to this daughter's hair getting cut off and saying this is the only thing that makes you beautiful. Because y'all may not be saying that to y'all's daughters, but y'all are very much saying that to y'all's daughters in the way that y'all act in regards to y'all's daughter's hair. Prime example of this, here I go going off on a tangent already. This whole situation with Blue Ivy's hair, we know people used to be talking crazy about Blue Ivy's hair all the time. Completely and utterly ridiculous. But the thing that I still don't like is that now that Blue Ivy has this long hair, you know, down her back, now it's like, oh, y'all was talking about Blue Ivy's hair, but look at it now. It's long and down her back. I bet y'all wish y'all could take back what y'all said. And it's, to me, it's the fact that, like, so now Blue Ivy is worth something because her hair is long and down her back. What if her hair never got that long? What if her hair wasn't down her back? I really want y'all to see how y'all really be treating young girls like, if you don't have super long hair down your back, you're not as valuable as the girls that do. You see what I'm saying? Like, I understand, like, the conversation now is, oh, y'all did all this talking about Blue Ivy, but look at her hair down her back. And it's like, y'all was wrong to be talking mess about Blue Ivy. Even if her hair never grew an inch, even if her hair never grew past her earlobes, y'all was still wrong to talk about her. It's not just because her hair is down her back now that, oh, now, you know, we can stick up for Blue Ivy because her hair got long. I hate that shit. I hate it. And I want y'all to understand that when y'all act like that in regards to Black girls' hair, y'all are this stepmother. Y'all may not be saying out of y'all's mouth that the only beautiful thing about you is your hair, but the way y'all act in regards to hair, y'all be saying very much that. I remember growing up and hearing stuff like, you know, your hair is your crowning glory. And it's just like, Do y'all really understand what it means for a young girl to hear stuff like your hair is your crown and glory, it's a gift from God, and this and that and the third? And then if you're a young girl whose hair is not long, how do you think that stuff makes you feel? So if my hair is supposed to be my crown and glory and a gift from God, but I don't have a lot of it, what does that say about me? What does that say about my value? And there are so many reasons why little girls may not have a lot of hair. Me, I dealt with alopecia growing up. But there are so many other things. Lupus. Your mom may just not have known how to take care of your hair properly, and so it didn't grow. Like, y'all really treat little girls' hair as if it is so important, and then wonder why young black girls grow up and they put so much emphasis on their hair, and they're wearing weaves and they're doing this and they're doing that, because you have literally trained them up their entire lives to believe that their beauty and their value ultimately is largely in part to what their hair looks like. And like I said, y'all are not saying it like the stepmom in this show said it, but y'all are very much saying it with the way y'all act. I just had to get that out. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's continue. It is very dark. Let me turn on my light. So anyway, back at school, we see the girls, Keyshawn, her two stepsisters, and Gidget. They're basically sitting at a lunch table with some other girls. And we see Alicia, the light-skinned stepsister, as she's walking up, one of the dudes is asking her to the homecoming dance. And he was literally just like, so, is a gonna come with it to the homecoming dance? And I was like, young man, first of all, that is not how you ask. Okay, luckily Alicia said no, and I was like, yes, sis, because we not saying yes to no foolishness like that. But anyway, he asked her to the dance, and Alicia's like, no. And so when she sits down at the table, they're like, you keep saying no to everybody, you're gonna end up going to the dance by yourself. And so they start talking about the dance. It's their homecoming dance that's coming up. They call it the Mistletoe, but apparently there is another dance that goes on the same night that they call the Cracker Toe, which I thought was hilarious. But basically, because this is like small town Mississippi, there is a segment of white families who they don't want to have the mixed dance. They want to have a separate dance that is specifically for the very wealthy, affluent white students of the school, because they say that, as the school got more and more black and more integrated, essentially, a lot of the white families decided to separate their dance. For people who don't live in the South, this might sound like something wild and crazy, but I want y'all to know this really happens in the South still to this day. There are so many places in the South that are still living in 1932, unfortunately. But anyway, they're having this whole conversation, and they're asking Gidget, because she's like the token white girl at the table with them, and they're like, well, Gidget, which homecoming are you gonna go to, the Mistletoe or the Cracker Toe? And Gidget's like, I ain't going to them Cracker Toe, so them folks can just laugh at me and make fun of me for having on a TJ Maxx dress or whatever. I'm going to the Mistletoe where I can have a good time or whatever. And that's cute. But I just want to say this. I think it's very interesting how, no shade to Gidget, whatever. I had my beef with her last episode. But I think it's interesting how people like Gidget, who are white but don't have as much money-wise, how they tend to just go and blend in with the black folks. Because it's like, well, the white folks don't want me, so I'm gonna come over here with y'all. That's fine. We are a very accepting people. We be welcoming people, and we be letting everybody come to the cookout. You know how we do. But it's just always interesting to me, because it's like, if you had more, would you be over here with us? Or would you be over there with them? Like, if you're only over here with us because you don't have a lot, I don't really know how I feel about that. Because it's like, it's giving, if you hit the lottery tomorrow, you will leave us in the dust and be over there with them. That's what it's giving. So I don't know how I feel about that, but either way, Gidget is just like, yeah, I'm going to the Mistletoe. They're, a bunch of rich, stuck up folks. I'm not going to, to their little thing or whatever. And so the conversation about Derek comes up or something. Gidget ends up making, like, throwing some shade at Derek, and Keyshawn just kind of looks over to the, the table where Derek is sitting, and she's just like making googly eyes. So clearly, they're just showing that, there's an interest growing there between the two of them. So Keyshawn is walking home and it starts to rain, and because she's a black girl with a weave, she's like trying to hurry up and get out the rain. She got carrying her book up to cover her head from the rain, and Derek ends up pulling up in his little Prius, and he's like, do you want to ride? You want me to give you a ride home? And Keyshawn is basically like, who said that I wanted to go home? And so him and her end up going to a little diner, and child, while they at the diner, they about to order some food, and here come Pastor Patrice Woodbine serving them food, and she was like, girl, you better order some more food, especially if he's paying. And she's like, young man, you better be paying for this date. And I was like, I know that's right, Miss Patrice. But basically, Keyshawn and Derek are sitting there. They're basically talking about, he's basically telling her that his parents are very wealthy, and he's basically got a scholarship to cheer at Ole Miss in the fall when he graduates and stuff. And he's like, yeah, my family, we could pay for it, but might as well just get the scholarship so they don't have to worry about it. And I'm just like, ain't the scholarships for people who can't afford it? Like, if your parents can afford it. Anyway, they're having this conversation, and basically Derek has a bruise on his face, and Keyshawn is like asking him, where did he get the bruise? And he's like, oh, one of the cheerleaders, they were falling and their shoe hit, kicked me in the face on the way down or something. We find out later that that's not the truth, but you basically see Keyshawn, just like, inquiring about his bruise, and she's like, oh, you should put some makeup on it. And, I guess a little bit of foreshadowing, just because, we've seen her so many times within the show, putting makeup on the bruises that he actually gave her. So it was like a little bit of foreshadowing and like a little, ironic moment there. But basically they're just sitting here, they're talking. Patrice comes over and she like insinuates that they're on a date. Keyshawn is like, oh, is this a date? And Derek is like, no, if this was a date, I wouldn't take you here, and he's like telling her where he would take her if they were on a date. And you could just see that Keyshawn is just, she's just not used to this level of attention. And again, as we know from the narration happening from Uncle Clifford, like, she just doesn't think that she's deserving of this level of, just being treated nicely by a guy, basically. And so she just starts to get a little bit uncomfortable. She's just kind of looking around the room. She sees the other girls that are there on their dates, and you could just kind of tell that she's maybe just like a little bit kind of comparing herself to them, And so, ultimately she just goes ahead and asks Derek to take her home. So it's Christmas time at Keyshawn's house. She, her stepmother, and her two stepsisters are basically like putting out the Christmas lights and stuff like that. And they're talking about like who got asked to the homecoming dance and this and that. The light-skinned sister Alicia is like, well, how did you know that James was the one and this and that? And the stepmom tells this cute story like, oh, it was love at first sight. I was on the plane and I served him a drink, and we just knew right then and there. Sometimes you just know. And Keyshawn is like, first of all, you forgot to mention the part where you served his wife a drink first. And I was like, no, you didn't, stepmom. No, you didn't leave out the part that this man's wife was with him. So now we understand like the dynamic between, Keyshawn and her stepmom. Essentially, the dad, James, was creeping around. I guess she was the side chick. But they basically end up going back and forth about it. And the stepmom is like, it's just some things that you don't understand. And Keyshawn is like, I understand that it wasn't no fairy tale that you're making it out to be. You're leaving a lot of stuff out of your story, trying to act like it was this, romantic fairy tale, when really you was just the side chick that turned into the main chick, basically. And so they end up going back and forth. The stepmom throws something at Keyshawn, tells her to go to her room. Keyshawn throws something back. They're having this whole back and forth. And then later we pan over to basically Keyshawn is upstairs in her room, and you just hear the stepmom downstairs yelling, and she's going back and forth with Keyshawn's dad, and it's like, if she get out of line like this one more time, you know, she gonna have to go. And what I forgot to mention, when Keyshawn and the stepmom were going back and forth, the stepmom said something along the lines of, see, you just like your mom, you ghetto just like your mom, that's why your dad left her. And it's just, you could very clearly see that it's this dynamic of like, you got this light-skinned stepmom who thinks that she's just that girl and feels like the dad leaving his ghetto, you know, probably dark-skinned wife for her is it's because you was ghetto and because you was this and that, as if a man leaving his wife and child to cheat with you and then ultimately marry you is like, as if that's a signifier of a good man. Like, girl, a cheating man is not a prize. So we jump back into the present day, and we see Keyshawn at this Legends ball. She's finished her dance, and Joseline comes over to her and is just having a conversation with her and basically giving her like a little pep talk. And Joseline is just letting her know, like, look, you know, these people, when they see you as a dancer, they always gonna see you as a hoe. No matter what, they never gonna let you forget it. And ultimately, you have to be able to maintain your power in that moment, even though they're always going to try to remind you that, you know, you're just a hoe, basically. And she's like, but, you know, remember what my girl Cardi B said, a hoe is never cold. And so, you know, I thought that was a little cute moment or whatever, you know, basically Joseline just being herself. And so after Joseline has this little conversation with her, she gives her a key to her suite, and Joseline is just like, you know, if you want to come talk later or whatever. And so back in the flashback, it is the night of the mistletoe / cracker toe. And the stepsisters are getting ready to go to the dance. Their dates are there. They're taking pictures with them and stuff. And Keyshawn is just eating a bowl of cereal in her pajamas. She ain't going. And nobody asked her. And so basically, you know, her sisters and stuff are getting ready. The dad is there, James, and he basically asked Keyshawn, you know, hey, Keyshawn, can you take a picture of us? And during this scene, we ended up getting some narration from Uncle Clifford that was like, you know, Keyshawn knew what it was like to not be the beautiful girl, whatever. And then in the narration, Uncle Clifford is like, but Alicia knew that there's trouble that comes with being beautiful too. And we see, as they're taking the picture, we see that the dad, James, has went and like stood in between the two girls, and he kind of like put his arm around Alicia in a way that just felt icky, and Alicia kind of gave like a look that just felt like she was very uncomfortable. And I was like, oh Lord, don't say this man is like messing with the girl or something. I was like, Jesus Christ. But that's very much what it seemed like it was giving. So child, looked like Keyshawn's daddy ain't shit and need to be stomped under the jail. But anyway, as Keyshawn is taking this picture of all of them, there's a knock on the door, and it is Derek. He comes in holding the garment bag, and he got the shoes, and he's all dressed in his little, you know, tux or whatever. And he basically brought an outfit for Keyshawn to wear so that he could take her to the cracker toe. And so Keyshawn goes upstairs. She's getting dressed. She's, you know, jumping up and down and doing sit-ups and putting on a waist trainer. And I'm like, girl, you weigh 103 pounds. But either way, you know, she squeezes herself into the dress, you know.
Squeeze my tiny ass into this.
If you know where that's from, put it in the comments. You win a prize. I don't know what the prize is yet, but if you get that reference, put it in the comments. But anyway, Keyshawn gets dressed, and you know, she comes downstairs. She has this like she's so cute. She just looks like a little chocolate little Barbie doll. They show this really cute like little back and forth between the mistletoe with the black folks and then the cracker toe with the white people. And you see like the white people at the cracker toe, they're ballroom style dancing, child. It's a very classy affair, you know. And then you switch over to the mistletoe. You see them folks, Then you switch over to the Mistletoe. Then folks in there twerking, lit, turned up. You know, you see at the Cracker Toe, they got, you know, wine flutes and whatever. And, you know, then you head over to the Mistletoe. These folks got red Solo cups. Listen, let me tell you, when I was in high school, I would have rather wanted to be at the Mistletoe. I wasn't trying to be in a ballroom gown doing ballroom dancing. I was trying to be turned up, twerking, okay? That would have been more fun to me. But either way, I thought it was cute how they were just jumping back and forth between the two parties and showing the difference in them. You know, ultimately, like, both parties looked like the people at the party were having fun, but it was just funny seeing the difference in the environment and everything like that. But we see Keyshawn and Derek at the ball. They're dancing. At one point, they ended up underneath one of the mistletoes and they were about to kiss, but then we see Derek's mom popped up out of nowhere looking over like, I know you bet the fuck not. Clearly, Derek's mom is not okay with Keyshawn. She's not okay with the swirling that's going on with her son, clearly, because she was like, yeah, you bet not kiss her up in here. And so we see Keyshawn and Derek, they go outside and they're just talking. We end up getting a conversation between them where we basically find out that, you know, that bruise that was on his face at the diner, it wasn't from one of the cheerleaders, you know, kicking him. It basically, his dad is like beats on him basically. So now, you know, we're getting Derek's villain origin story, essentially. His dad beat on him, and that's why, you know, he basically became his dad. They're having this conversation, and then it starts to snow, and so Keyshawn is just like getting hyped about the snow. She's like, oh my god, how often does it snow in Mississippi? And she's just twirling around in the snow like a little princess, and you can just see Derek just falling in love, child. And so they get in the car, and then, you know, they get busy. It looks very uncomfortable. And now here's a fun fact about Fiercely V. I've never gotten busy in the car. It don't look fun. It doesn't look comfortable. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. So we see Keyshawn coming home. She's sneaking in the house all silently, but once she gets in the front door, she sees that her stepmom is sitting on the couch and he's apologizing for coming in past curfew or whatever. And her stepmom is just kind of like, don't worry, you know, you still beat both of your sisters home or whatever. And you could tell that the stepmom is kind of like, you kind of tell that she's been crying and also that she kind of been drinking. And so she's like, you look nice. All the stuff that he brought you, it all looks custom made. And Keyshawn is like, yeah, I know, it's crazy. And the stepmom is basically like, you know, but you didn't get to pick though. And she's like, be careful about a man turning you into his Barbie doll, because men will always find another doll to buy. You know, like I said, it looked like she had been crying and had been drinking, so clearly there's trouble in paradise. But girl, what did you think? You was a side chick. You know, how you get them is how you lose them. We hear Uncle Clifford's narration basically saying that even though the stepmom is giving Keyshawn this advice and it is like good advice, it's like, girl, her nose is wide open. She do not want to hear that. And Uncle Clifford is basically just like, you can't tell somebody something when they're like in love, essentially. Like, they have to learn it the hard way. So yeah, it was in one ear and out the other. So we go back to present day and we see Keyshawn, Teak, Wody, and Lil Murda all sitting in the suite. They're playing with the little money shooter machine thing with all the money that she's made tonight. She's just dancing around, and then we see Wody wink at her, and then, you know, it's that stupid ass game again where somebody has to fall out and play dead. So she falls out in the middle of the money and plays dead and all that stuff, and they're laughing. It's a good time. So there's some chocolate strawberries in the room, and Teak is over in the cut, sitting over by himself. And Keyshawn is like, you know, Teak, you know, why don't you come get some of these strawberries? I know you want some. And Teak is like, nah, I'm good. And Lil Murda is like, man, you know you want some of these strawberries. And Teak is like, I said I didn't want none of them. And it's so funny because you see Keyshawn kind of give Wody a look, and then up on the screen they put like the translation of the look, and basically the translation for the look she gave him was like, do you think these is f***ing? And then Wody gives her a look, and then it's like, I think these is And I thought that was so funny. But again, just going back to what I said earlier, like, it's clear that these two have something going on. And it's like, if they think they're trying to hide it, like, they're doing the worst job ever. They are so obvious with what's going on. But either way, you could just see Keyshawn and Wody like giving each other these looks. They clearly know what's going on. And then you see Big T kind of walk off. He's upset. And Lil Murda goes off, see what's up with him. So Rome comes in and is basically talking about how he and Keyshawn are going to go up to Joseline's thing. And Lil Murda says something about, yeah, you know, after I come back from there, da-da-da. And Rome instantly interrupts him like, no, hold up. It's only me and Keyshawn that's going. Y'all ain't going. And so Lil Murda is mad and everything. And Rome is basically just like, I'm not your manager. Like, I already have done so much for y'all. I got y'all these rooms. If it wasn't for me, y'all would be off in some motel off on the outskirts of Atlanta, and already done more than I should have done by even just getting y'all rooms and stuff. The thing about it is, as much as I hate Rome, it's like, he's not lying. It is very clear, and it has been clear for the last few episodes, that like Rome is really coming through for Keyshawn from a manager standpoint. And Wody is not coming through. And like the whole tour, basically, they pretty much have been riding Rome's managerial coattails, essentially. Like, they're staying in the rooms that Rome has gotten for them. They're doing, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, Wody is gonna have to step it up. They end up getting into a whole little back and forth where Rome is like, you know, if it wasn't for me, y'all wouldn't even be standing here and da-da-da. And so, of course, Big T, because he is just a ball of anger and aggression, he clearly don't like Rome already. He gets all up in Rome's face and he's like, I don't need nothing from you. You ain't did nothing for me and da-da-da. And he's just like, you know, going off, and Rome is basically like, well, fine. If that's how y'all feel, y'all gonna be ungrateful, then I'm gonna keep these room keys and y'all can find somewhere else to sleep. And so Big T is like, I don't need your room keys. I'm gonna go sleep outside. And so Rome ends up leaving, and then Big T ends up going, and he's like, I'm gonna just sleep in a Hirsch. And then he ends up leaving and going out to the Hirsch, and Lil Murda follows him. And I'm just like, child, this little bunch, they just a mess. And Keyshawn is basically just like, don't worry about Rome. Don't let what he's saying get to you. You know, I'm gonna go up there. I'm gonna make sure I get y'all's room keys and stuff back. You know, he's just tripping, whatever. And then out of the clear blue sky, Wody is just like, I don't like your hair. And I was like, tell us how you really feel, Wody. But basically, you know, of course, Keyshawn is wearing this platinum blonde wig. And, you know, even she herself was like, you know, I don't know if it goes my skin tone or whatever. And, you know, like I said earlier, we always see her in like black, you know, hair. So it was a little strange to see her in this platinum blonde wig. But Wody is just like, yeah, I don't like your hair. He's like, I like the hair that just grows out of your head. And I'm just like, okay, like, we get it, man. We get it. Y'all like natural hair. Okay, we still gonna wear weave because we want to wear weave. Like, thank you for the compliment, but you didn't have to, like, preface that compliment with an insult. You get what I'm saying? Now, like, I couldn't tell if this was, like, a little moment between Keyshawn and Wody. I'm like, do Wody have a crush too? I mean, ultimately, Keyshawn is literally the only girl on this whole tour of guys. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that Lil Murda and Teak are into each other, like, I wouldn't be surprised if everybody on the tour didn't have a slight crush on her. You know what I'm saying? So either way, I'm just like, is this Wody trying to, like, I don't know. What are we introducing here? Are we introducing like a little situation between them two? Because I don't know if I would be mad at that. So back in the flashback, Keyshawn is pregnant. So I guess we see how that, you know, the hot, passionate night in the car went. So Keyshawn is pregnant. She's laying on the couch, and basically Derek is going through like baby clothes and stuff with her. Keyshawn doesn't like the baby clothes. She's mad that, you know, people didn't get what she asked them to get in terms of the color. And Derek is like, you know, it doesn't matter what color, just like be thankful that people got us stuff or whatever. Which honestly, I kind of agree with Derek here, because I'm like, first of all, Keyshawn, don't be a brat. Like, people buy you things, they didn't have to buy you anything. But anyway, Keyshawn is clearly feeling away, and you know, she's going off on Derek about how, like, you know, she's like, your parents could have helped us out, like, you know, your parents didn't really do anything. I know your mom doesn't like me, and you know, but they could have helped us out. They didn't even help us put nothing on this duplex. You know, my dad was the one that put the down payment on this duplex, and you know, I just feel like your parents haven't helped us out with anything. It's very clear that Derek's family has basically cut him off because, you know, he done went and got this little black girl pregnant. You know, they end up going back and forth about this, and you know, Keyshawn is really just, she's really just kind of like, I don't know, she's kind of being a brat a little bit, I felt like, because it's like, girl, nobody has to do anything for you. Like, be glad that your dad put the down payment on y'all's duplex, because you know how many people's families either won't do that for them or can't do that for them. Like, you should be glad that your dad actually even did that for y'all, and you're just like complaining that people didn't do more. Like, she was kind of being a brat in this scene. But either way, her and Derek start going back and forth, and Derek just starts getting super heated. He's like, I knew I shouldn't have messed with you. You know, my mom said that you was a gold digger, and now my life is ruined. I can't go to school like I planned to, and my parents have cut me off, and I'm stuck in this situation with you now because you trapped me. And I'm just like, Derek, sweetie, it was two people in that back seat. It was definitely two people in that back seat. So seems like you made a choice to do something that had a certain consequence, and these are your consequences. Like, y'all both chose to get it on in the car, and now a baby is here. Like, how does it suddenly become all on her? Oh, she trapped me and da-da-da. No, y'all both made a decision, and the result of y'all's decision is a baby. So they're going back and forth, and he ends up calling her out of her name. You know, he calls her the B word or something. Keyshawn is like, you will not call me that. You will not talk to me like that. He calls her a gold digger and is like, you trapped me or whatever. And Keyshawn is like, how am I a gold digger when I take care of you? I'm the one that's going to work, you know, the night shift at Walgreens so that I could, you know, put food on the table and put gas in your Prius. I'm the one taking care of you. And at that point, Derek just kind of gets up, loses it, jumps across the room, and just starts choking her out. And I thought this scene was really interesting because it really sets up the dynamic of what Derek's triggers are. And you can really see that the thing that seems to push Derek over the edge is basically him feeling like less of a man, being that Keyshawn is like the breadwinner and the one taking care of him. And child, y'all gonna have to forgive me with this lighting. This is like the 7th time my lighting has changed in this video, but it's because it was daylight and then it started to get dark, and then I had to go get my ring light, and it's a lot. But anyway, we're back in the present day. Keyshawn goes up to Rome's suite because remember, her and Rome are supposed to be going to Joseline's thing that she's having later. So when she gets up there, Rome is not dressed yet. He's just wearing a robe, and she's like, oh my God, why aren't you dressed or whatever? And Rome ends up telling her, bad news, the lace front deal that I got for you earlier, that's actually, fell through. That's not gonna happen, but I was able to get you another deal, and it's with some stripper heels. And basically Keyshawn is like, I was really excited about the wig deal because that's a bigger customer base. He's like, I know, but it'll still be good, go ahead and try it on. And the whole episode we've kind of been between Uncle Clifford's narrations and the whole, basically Keyshawn having like an evil stepmother and 2 stepsisters, and then fairy godmothers, Joseline and stuff. So we've kind of been going along with this fairy tale analogy the whole episode. So we have this moment where we see Rome is like, go ahead and try the shoe on. And so we have this very Cinderella type moment where we see him holding the shoe, and it's like trying on the glass slipper basically, and it's a stripper heel, so it literally is a glass slipper. So I liked that they were keeping with the analogy there. Like, listen, the theme of this episode and the writing and the way they brought it all together, they really did that. But anyway, Rome is like, yeah, go on and see how it is in your floss, which is, her little stripper outfit. As soon as he says that, I was like, girl, don't strip down to your stripper outfit in this room with him. I don't trust this nigga. I knew as soon as he said that, I was like, in my mind, I'm starting to like get nervous for her, And so he goes off and he's like, I'm gonna finish getting dressed or whatever. And so she's standing in the mirror with her little stripper outfit on. She got on the heels. And then he comes out and his robe is open. And she's like, oh my God, Rome, why is your robe open? And he's like, oh, he tries to act like it's like an accident or whatever. And then he's like, oh, what's wrong? You don't like what you see? And I was like, oh my God, he's about to try to push up on this girl. And I just immediately started getting so uncomfortable for her. And so clearly she's very uncomfortable too. He comes and like gets all up in her personal space. And I'm just like, you all in this girl's personal space with your thing out and stuff. Like, I just was like, oh my God, I knew I didn't like him for a reason. I knew it was something about him. But anyway, and so he's just like pushing up on her and she's like, Rome, stop, go get dressed or whatever. And he's like, what? You don't like what you see? All this stuff I done for you. And so then he starts throwing stuff in the air. I did this for you and I did that for you. And basically just like throwing it up in her face that he's done all these things for her. Like, I deserve to have access to your body right now because I done all these things for you. Like, first of all, sir, you're my manager. I'm pretty sure as my manager, you're getting paid to do these things for me. Paid in actual money, not in my vagina. You know what I'm saying? You're already getting something for what you're doing for me. It's called money for being my manager. So he's throwing it out there like, I did this for you, I did that for you, and telling her all the stuff he did for her. And he's like, you ain't gonna give me a little dance, you about to go upstairs and dance for them. And she's like, that's what I do. Like, that's my job. When I dance, it's a performance. The men that I'm dancing on, the men that I'm giving lap dances to and stuff, they're not gonna get none. They can't get it. Like, it's just a fantasy. And he's like, nah, it ain't no fantasy. You gonna dance on them, but you ain't gonna dance on me. And I done did all this for you. And she's like, what are you saying? So I owe you now? And he's like, hell yeah, you owe me now. And I'm just like, I knew I didn't like him for a reason. I knew I didn't like him for a reason. So, they're going back and forth. She's clearly uncomfortable. And so she starts trying to walk away from him. And so he ends up bringing up Lil Murda. And he's like, just like Lil Murda, he got everybody out here in the streets thinking he's this and that. But this N-word is really a Faggot. He probably butt buddies with Big T. And Keyshawn is just like, you don't have no proof of that. And he's like, shoot, yes I do. And this man pulls out a phone and shows a recording of Big T and Lil Murda smashing. And I'm just like, when did he get a recording of them smashing? Unless he had a camera set up in one of the rooms somewhere. You had a camera set up in there? Like, you was just hoping to catch something between them? As she was like trying to walk away from him, they're over by the bed at this point. And so he's basically like, yeah, I'm gonna tell the world who he really is. He ain't no gangster and you ain't no princess. You just a hoe. And then he just like rips her top off. Her whole boob falls out and he's like, and you mine. And he just like slams her on the bed like on some like real fucking vicious type shit. And I'm just like, oh my God, I knew something was up with him. And it's just so crazy because I knew something was up with Rome. And obviously I think we all knew that Rome was like into Keyshawn. But I did not think he was gonna just OD like this. I thought that he was gonna be trying to like just, push up on her more and more, and, pressure her more and more throughout the trip. I didn't think he was gonna just like go full on like, I'm just gonna take it type, I was like, this just goes to show like you are never safe. Like, it's just so crazy. I know this is a TV show, but the reality is this be happening in real life. And at the end of the day, it's like these men, like, even if they're your friend, even if it's your homeboy, even if you just have like a platonic friendship with them, or even if it's somebody that you was dealing with at one point or dated at one point in time or whatever, like at any given moment, they can just like switch it up on you and not decide to not take no for an answer. And then it's just like, what the hell do you do in that situation? And so I'm glad that the show had it to where, Keyshawn was able to like fight him off of her and run away. But it's just like, damn, as a woman, it's like you find yourself in that situation where you thinking, you cool with this person and all of a sudden they trying to push up on you and don't take no for an answer. It's just like, what if you can't fight them off? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a situation that so many women find themselves in, where it's like, I've been thinking this whole time that we was just on some regular stuff, and the whole time you just been thinking you was gonna get some, and now that you thought this was gonna be your lucky day, if I say no and you just like, nah, I'm not taking that as an answer. It's just like, it's just so terrifying for women, because it's just like, you can, at any time you can find yourself in this situation. You never know if a man is just gonna switch it up on you and pull some shit like this. And it's just like, on some real stuff, like, again, I know this is a TV show, obviously, but on some real stuff, it would never, ever, 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 ever be a good idea for a woman to be on a tour where she's the only woman and it's just all men. Like, that would just never be a good idea anyway, if this was real life, you know what I'm saying? And like, luckily, because it's like, at least two of the men, you don't have to worry about them looking in your direction. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least. But it's just like, it's still just, it's scary, because it's like, again, I'm glad that they made it in the show to where nothing actually happened to her. I mean, obviously she still was assaulted and traumatized, you know what I'm saying? But I'm glad it didn't like go all the way where it was trying to go. I'm glad she was able to get away before it got there. But it's just like, that's still so messed up. You know what I'm saying? And it's just even watching those kind of scenes on TV, they make me so anxious, because it's like, damn, like, I just think of any time that I was in a situation with a dude who was like trying to smash and I wasn't trying to smash. And it's just like, what if they would have just decided, I'm not taking no for an answer? You know what I'm saying? It's like, you better hope you can fight him off of you. Like, it's scary. It's very terrifying. Anyway, she does end up fighting him off of her. She kicks him in his privates or whatever, and she just goes running down the hall, and then we just see her beating on a door, and then we go instantly to the flashbacks again, where she's beating on the door of her house, and this is directly after the scene where Derek was choking her out. And so we see her in her same little nightgown that she was wearing when Derek was choking her out on the couch. And basically, she goes home, her stepmother answers the door, and she's, crying, and she's like, I want to come in. And her stepmom is basically like, girl, no, like, I don't want my daughters around you, teenage pregnancy and stuff. My daughters don't need to be around this. And relationships are hard. You can't run back home every time it gets hard with you and Derek. And I just hated this for her so much, because you are literally putting her in a position where, at this point in time, where else is Keyshawn gonna go? She's a pregnant teenager. Her boyfriend and just choked her ass out on the couch, and she tried to come home. Y'all saying she can't. What is her option here? There's nowhere else for her to go. She is pregnant. That really be happening in so many situations, where it's like, young girls make a mistake, they get pregnant or whatever, and their family is just like, oh well, go figure it out on your own. And it's just like, imagine how you could like help her life and the life of your grandchild if you just gave her some support and some help. Why does it have to be, you make a mistake, now you got to figure out life on your own? That's how these cycles of poverty and stuff just perpetuate, because it's like, you take a teenage girl that messes up, gets knocked up or something like that, and it's like, now she's just out here in the world on her own. What kind of like choices do you think she's going to have to make in order to survive, that are going to lead her further and further down a path of just like, poverty and destruction and, or worse, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I will never understand when parents choose that route, when it's just like, this is your child and they made a mistake. Have you never made a mistake? But ultimately, in terms of Keyshawn's stepmom, she never wanted her there anyway. So it was just that much easier for her to just be like, girl, oh well, go back home and figure it out. But we basically flashback forward to present day, and we see Keyshawn, right after, Rome, tried to assault her, she's beaten on a door, and it's Wodie's door. And she comes in, and Wodie is like, what's wrong? What's going on? Her shirt is all torn and stuff. And, she's like, Rome, he tried to sleep with me. He tried to attack me or whatever. Wodie is like, what? She's like, I can't believe, all this time, I'm thinking he was just helping me, and he just wanted to F me. I'm so stupid. I can't believe I was so stupid. And Wodie is just like, you're not stupid. You're naive, ambitious, but, you're not stupid. She's like, Rome, he has a video of Big Teak and Lil Murda. He knows everything. And then Wodie ends up being like, well, what about the rest of the tour and stuff? And Keyshawn is like, ain't no rest of the tour. I want to go home. And I'm just like, Wodie, you thought she was gonna stay after this happened to her? Like, why would you even ask her that question? So when we flash back to the past, we see her going home after, she tried to go home and her stepmom told her she can't come back. There's flowers all over the floor, and he comes in and he's like, drops to his knees, and he's like crying to her and is like, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. And it's just like, we already know how that story ends. We know that you 100% do it again. So we go back to the present day, and we see Keyshawn get back home. She comes in the house, and Derek is in the kitchen with the kids, and everybody's happy to see her or whatever. Derek is holding the youngest baby, and the older son, Jaden, is sitting on the floor, and Keyshawn keeps trying to she keeps trying to pick him up or hug him, and he's acting really weird. And, she notices that he's kind of acting weird. He's holding his arm a little funny. He's whining a little bit. And she ends up taking him to the pediatrician. And that's when she finds out that his arm is dislocated. And she's like, how did his arm get dislocated? And then as the pediatrician is looking at his dislocated arm, they find this big ass bruise on his back. So Derek been putting hands on the baby. I was like, oh my God, this episode is just... And now, first of all, I was like, okay, if the doctor really saw that, wouldn't they take her baby away from her or something? I'm pretty sure that if you're at the pediatrician and your child got a big ass bruise on their whole back, they would call child services or something. But for whatever reason, they did not. And so Keyshawn, she goes back home, and, she puts the baby in the room. Derek is getting dressed for a job interview. And I'm just like, this nigga, you always going to a job interview, but you don't got no job. Why is it so hard for you to get a job, Derek? Now, what's really going on here? But anyway, whatever the case, he's ironing his little shirt so he can go on a job interview. And, Keyshawn comes home, she goes in the room, she puts the baby down, and she comes in there and she's like, so are you going to ask me what was wrong with him? And he's like, no, it was wrong. And Keyshawn is like, his arm was dislocated. You dislocated his arm, Derek. He's only 3 years old. And Derek is like, no, I didn't. I didn't do that. And she's like, yes, you did. And you put a bruise on him. She's like, you can hit me, but you cannot hit these kids. I don't care what you do to me, but you will not put your hands on my kids. And he's like, you haven't been here with them. He was whining, and I'm just like, he's a baby. But he's like, he was whining and he was crying. You haven't been here with them for 2 weeks. And she's like, he's 4. You know what I'm saying? And so they start going back and forth. And Keyshawn's like, you will not put your hands on my kids. You will not. And so Derek is like, I need to go to my job interview. We're not doing this right now. I need to get ready to go to my job interview. And Keyshawn is like, you're not going to get the job. And she's like, I'll just continue to take care of my 3 kids, Jaden and child, I forgot what the new baby's name is, and Derek Wright. And as soon as she says that, he just bing, pops her, knocks her out. She falls to the floor. He starts dragging her through the house. She's screaming and crying and kicking, and he drags her all the way to the kitchen. And as soon as he started dragging her to that kitchen, I was like, oh my dear God, the iron is back there. Because remember, he was ironing his shirt. I was like, oh God, don't. At first I thought, I was like, maybe Keyshawn is going to grab the iron and defend herself against him. Maybe she going to hit him with the iron. But he drug her back there. He was choking on her, and then he picked up the iron and he was holding it to her face, and she was like, please, not my face, anywhere but my face, anywhere but my face. And it kind of reminded me of in season 1 when her eye was blackened and stuff, and Uncle Clifford was helping her just kind of like, you know, clean up the bruise and put a little makeup on it and stuff. And Uncle Clifford had told her, don't let nobody, your face is your money maker, you know, whatever they take from you, don't let them take this, or don't let them mess this up. And so that's kind of where my mind went when she was like, anywhere but here, you know, anywhere but my face. And I was just like, man, that's so sad. Like, just don't do this shit to me at all, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, like, he did stop. He didn't burn her with the iron. He ended up just putting the iron down, and then, you know, he walks out the room and you could just hear him just like, dang, you know, this is your fault, why did you do this, why did you, you know, and he's just going off. And but before, when he was putting the iron down, before he walked away, he was like, I will discipline my kids however I want to discipline my kids. And so I'm just like, oh, so you're just letting it be known that you're not gonna stop beating on the kids. I was like, oh my God, this is not gonna end well. She gonna have to burn him with some grits or poison his food or something. Listen. So we're back at the hotel, and Wody pulls up on Rome in his suite, and it is just a fest. Everybody just out here freely, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, isn't this set like in the middle of 2020 and COVID? Everybody just out here in close proximity to each other, coochie air and COVID air just coagulating in the... Like, this room definitely smells like sweat, booty cheeks, and tilapia. Like, what's going on here? But no judgment. I ain't judging nobody. Like, do what you will, but also, ew. But anyway, Wody goes to talk to Rome, and Wody just kind of plays it, you know, like he don't know what's going on, and he's just like, what happened? Why did Keyshawn leave? And just kind of plays stupid. And Rome is like, man, I don't know what's wrong with her. She just ran off. Oh, well, you know, she's a dime a dozen. Women like her are a dime a dozen. I could bring any other woman in that could fill her shoes and whatever. And so basically, Wody had brought some blow, you know, because, you know, Rome liked to, you know, he liked to, you know. And so Wody had brought him some. He gives it to Rome. And at first, Rome was like about to take it. But then he was like, you first, you know, like he don't really trust him. And so there was already like some lines on the table. And so Wody goes to take some. But instead of taking some from the line of what he just brought, he intentionally goes to one of the lines that was already on the table. So I was, at that point, I already knew. I'm like, oh shit, something... What's in here? What's in it? What's in it, Wody? So he intentionally takes some from one of the lines that was already on the table. And so, you know, because Rome is just high as hell, he don't even realize, you know what I'm saying? He's just like, oh, okay, everything's cool. So he goes and he does the line. And so Wody just starts talking to him. And it's like, so, what's going to happen with the rest of the tour? And basically Rome is like, can get one of my other artists to headline, and we can get Lil Murda to open up for them. I mean, Lil Murda can't, headline or nothing. He ain't popped off like that yet, but I could grab one of my other artists to come. And so Wody is just like, he could kind of see that, like, what he gave to Rome is kind of starting to hit him. And so then Wody is just like, have you ever seen somebody die, Rome? And he just starts talking to him, and he just starts having this ominous ass conversation with him about, death. Because of course, he works in a funeral home, and, he just starts talking to him about, how do you want to be buried? And as we can see, Rome have the effects of an overdose, basically. And Wody is just talking to him. And so Wody is just like, yeah, Keyshawn told me what happened. She told me everything. Now, what's that about this video that you have of Lil Murda and Teak? And, basically Rome is just sitting over there, child, fighting for his life. And good. And so as Rome is taking his last breath or whatever, We finally get the call back to that damn game, and as Rome is about to die, Wody does a wink and then gets up and walks off. And so we finally get, like, you know, we've been seeing them this whole freaking season playing this game where you wink at somebody and they die. So we finally see where, you know, we see Wody wink at Rome, but then he actually does die. And I'm just like, I feel like this is not going to be the only time that happens. I feel like other people are going to die, and we gonna get a wink before as a callback to this game. Anyway, Wody, he does the wink. Rome dies. Wody walks out the room, and everybody is like, oh my God, he's overdosing. Now I have a few questions. Nobody seen Wody walking out the room as this man was dying? Like, nobody thought that was suspicious. Nobody is just like, wait, this man's dying and this man's walking out the room. Interesting. Nobody is paying attention to Wody just casually walking in the other direction as Rome just like dies. Okay, if y'all say so. And also, Wody, you didn't get the video. And that's making me very nervous because where's the video? Like, at this point, I'm just like, so is somebody just gonna randomly come across this phone and be like, what's this? Why didn't you get secure the video, Wody? Also, Wody doing this really surprised me, but also it's like, I know that he really rides for Lil Murda tough like that, but it's just like, I still didn't expect this. I don't know, man. It makes me feel like I don't really know him, and that makes me nervous. Damn, we don't really know Wody like that. Wody, who are you? Like, what type of person are you? I feel like I don't know you now. That was the end of the episode. I'm wondering who is gonna end up with that phone, and are they gonna be like trying to blackmail or, whatever. It's so many ways that this can go, and we're not even talking about the mayoral race and everything that's going on at the Pink. Like, it's so many ways that things can go just with the Dirty Dozen crew. Like, it's just so many different ways this can go. So, yeah, I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I thought this episode was so good. I loved how it just had a totally different vibe than most of the episodes, because it had that flashback component. And, I just loved how the vibe was just so different. I loved how they framed it in that fairy tale narrative with this kind of, like Cinderella type story with the evil stepmother and the stepsisters and Joseline, the fairy godmother. And, I loved the narration from Uncle Clifford throughout. I'm eager for episode 6 so we could see, let's see what happens. Let me know what y'all think about the situation with Rome. Do y'all think that the video is just gone, or do y'all think it's gonna fall in the wrong hands? And whose hands do y'all think it's gonna fall in? Y'all let me know what y'all think. Thank you so much for tuning in. Definitely, if you have stayed this far, make sure that you give the video a like. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the tribe if you're feeling the vibe over here at Fiercely V. I will see y'all in the comments, and I will also see y'all in the next video. Bye.